Often we ask ourselves, why can't I control everything? Why don't things go as planned? And yet, when life offers us something good, we often try to cling to it tightly, not realizing that true peace lies in letting things flow. The human mind has a tendency to want to predict, control, dominate, and we forget that life follows its own rhythm. What seems too slow or too confusing might be exactly what we need to grow. Perhaps you're going through moments of uncertainty right now. Or maybe you're living calm days but still caught up in plans and expectations. If so, this story is for you. It will not only make you reflect, but might change the way you see the world. So, listen carefully, line by line, until the end. In a small village at the foot of a lush green hill, surrounded by dense forests and tranquil rivers, lived a man named Elias. He was a simple, middle-aged man, known for his humility and serenity. His life was quiet, marked by modest routines and constant challenges. But there was something about Elias that set him apart from everyone around. Him. He kept an open mind, always ready to accept whatever came his way, without resisting the flow of life. He knew that complaining wouldn't change anything, and that every moment, even the difficult ones, carried hidden lessons. Elias owned a small plot of land where he grew vegetables, legumes, and a few fruit trees. His daily work was hard, but he never complained. By his side was his son Lucas, a curious and energetic young man, and an old goat named Luna, who seemed to understand every gesture and word from Elias. Luna was no ordinary goat. There was something about her, a silent, almost mystical calmness, that brought peace to everyone nearby. For Elias and Lucas, Luna wasn't just an animal. She was a living reminder that some things simply need to be accepted, as they are. One day, a wealthy merchant from the city, having heard about Elias's serenity and Luna's peculiarity, decided to visit the village. He was enchanted by the goat's intelligence and calm, and offered Elias a large sum of money to take her with him. To everyone's surprise, Elias politely declined. Many in the village thought he was crazy. He could have solved all his problems, some said. Others, more critical, whispered, "Why does he insist on not holding on to what's valuable? Doesn't he understand that life is made of opportunities?" But Elias just smiled and said, "Lucas, my son, life isn't about grabbing everything that comes your way. Sometimes true wealth lies in letting things flow." A few days later, something unexpected happened. Luna disappeared. Elias and Lucas searched everywhere but found no trace of her. The entire village began to talk. Some laughed, others commented, "See? Elias should have taken the money. Now he's lost everything." Lucas was saddened and asked, "Father, we've lost something so important. Why are you so calm?" Elias simply replied, "Son, in life, what seems like a loss might be a gift in disguise. Just watch and let it flow. Everything comes in its own time." Lucas didn't fully understand, but he decided to trust his father. And then, something extraordinary happened. One morning, while they were tending to the fields, Luna returned. But she wasn't alone. By her side were 5 other goats that had been lost in the forest. The news spread quickly. Those who had laughed before were now astonished. "Elias is so lucky!" But Elias remained calm, without pride or euphoria. He knew it wasn't luck or misfortune, it was just life moving at its own pace. "Maybe Luna found her own group," he said. "Now she's back, naturally." Lucas watched and began to understand. There is beauty in letting things take their course. Over time, Lucas started caring for the new goats, learning to handle each one, understanding their temperaments and respecting their timing. But a few days later, one of the wilder goats pushed Lucas, causing him to fall and injure his arm. The village began to murmur again. "See? Elias exposed himself to problems." But Elias, as always, remained calm. "Son, good or bad aren't things we can define right away. Time reveals the truth." Even in pain, Lucas began to see the wisdom in his father's words. He started to realize that resisting the flow of life only brings suffering. Accepting, opening the mind, and allowing things to flow is the true path to peace. Weeks later, the village faced a fierce storm. Trees fell, rivers overflowed, but Elias and Lucas's goats remained safe, sheltered by their constant care. Those who had once criticized Elias began to see that his secret wasn't luck, but an open, peaceful, and receptive mind to life. Lucas learned the most valuable lesson. There is no absolute control, and trying to impose rigid rules on the world only causes frustration. True freedom lies in observing, accepting, and allowing everything to follow its natural course. And so, the entire village began to shift its perspective. People realized that happiness doesn't come from accumulating or planning every detail, but from living with an open mind, letting life flow. Elias continued his work on the land, caring for his goats and his son, teaching through small gestures and simple words that an open mind is the path to peace, acceptance, and true joy. The story of Elias and Lucas spread beyond the village, inspiring people to let go of control, embrace the unexpected, and trust in the natural flow of life. For in the end, life is far richer and full of surprises when we learn to let things happen without resistance, with courage and serenity. And the greatest lesson we can carry: open your mind, accept the flow, and witness the magic that unfolds when life follows its natural course. Lucas watched the field in the morning, still feeling the pain in his injured arm, but with a sense of peace he had never experienced before. He looked at Elias, who was calm, smiling softly as he worked the land. There was something magical in that tranquility, something seemingly invisible but capable of filling the heart of anyone who paid attention. Lucas realized that life didn't need to be controlled at every step. There was beauty in simply being present and accepting what came. In the days that followed, Elias began teaching Lucas to meditate mentally, to notice the natural flow of things without resistance or haste. "Son," he said, "when you keep an open mind, even the stones in your path can become stepping stones. When you resist, even the flowers lose their fragrance." Lucas tried to understand. At times, it seemed too simple, almost impossible. But with each moment, he began to grasp the truth behind his father's words. The wild goats, now tamed, were a living representation of this lesson. Each had its own rhythm, its own desires, and Elias taught Lucas to observe without forcing change, allowing each to reveal its nature. Lucas discovered that life is like those goats. We can't control everything, only guide with patience, respecting the natural course of each situation. One afternoon, as they walked through the fields, Lucas noticed dense clouds on the horizon. Elias simply continued his work, unhurried, unafraid. "The sky is always changing, son," he said. "If we fight every cloud, we'll never know whether the rain will bring life or just refreshment. Accepting the flow is finding serenity." Lucas took a deep breath, feeling the breeze and watching the dance of the leaves, realizing that even in uncertainty, there was beauty. Some villagers still questioned Elias's choices, especially about letting Luna and the goats roam freely. They spoke of safety, missed opportunities, risks, but Elias remained unaffected. He knew that an open mind wasn't about ignoring risks, but about not clinging to rigid expectations. Each day was a chance to learn to trust, to feel, to let things flow. One day, Lucas asked, "Father, sometimes I'm afraid things will go wrong if I don't control everything. How can I let go without feeling like I'm losing something?" Elias smiled, gazing at the horizon where the sun dipped behind golden trees. "Son, it's not about losing or gaining. It's about realizing that every moment is complete in itself. If you try to hold water in your hands, it slips away. But if you open your palm, the water touches, refreshes, and moves on. That's life." Lucas began practicing small actions in this spirit. Instead of trying to organize every task of the day, he started observing nature's cycles, trusting his intuition, and noticing that some problems resolved themselves when he didn't resist. He realized that an open mind allowed for new ideas, new solutions, and even new feelings he couldn't reach before. The goats continued to be a living mirror of this lesson. One of them, particularly shy, avoided humans, but Lucas didn't force her. He simply sat nearby, breathing and waiting, letting the goat come in her own time. When she finally approached, Lucas felt a deep joy. He realized that trust, patience, and an open mind created real, lasting connections. The seasons changed slowly. Winter brought light snow, blanketing the hill in white, and Lucas felt the cold pierce his bones but not his soul. He learned to accept each season, each change, each moment as necessary, without clinging to what was or what might come. Elias walked beside him, silent, as if imparting wisdom through his presence alone. One day, watching the sunset, Lucas reflected, "Father, I used to want to control everything, plan every detail, but now I see that the most important things happen when I leave room for the unexpected." Elias replied, "Exactly, son. Life is like a river. If you try to build dams at every turn, you'll never feel the water touch your hands. If you open your heart and let it pass, life flows and carries you along, revealing surprises you never imagined." Word of Elias's philosophy began spreading to neighboring villages. People came to hear his stories, his reflections on the flow of life. And Lucas realized that the impact of an open mind was greater than any material wealth. He began helping visitors understand that there's no need to control everything, that there's a greater force guiding each step when you learn to trust and let go. One rainy morning, Lucas saw something extraordinary. One of the most rebellious goats, which always ran off, returned alone, carrying a small flower it had found in the forest. Lucas laughed and said, "Father, look at that. Even the goats understand the flow of life." Elias smiled and said, "They just show us what we forget. Life moves better when we leave room for the unexpected." Time passed, and Lucas became not only wiser but also more serene. He learned to handle unexpected challenges, apparent losses, and sudden changes, always remembering his father's teaching: an open mind, a light heart, full acceptance. With each challenge, Lucas recalled Elias's words: "Don't resist what comes, but receive it. Observe, learn, grow. Life flows, and when you flow with it, everything reveals itself in its own time." He realized that what seemed like bad luck or difficulty was often just a lesson, a gift in disguise, something necessary to mature and understand that life can't be controlled, only experienced. Over the years, Lucas taught other young people in the village to care for the goats, work the land, but above all, to keep an open mind. He instructed them to observe, not resist, and trust in the natural flow of things. Some laughed at first, but little by little, they began to feel the peace that comes from letting go of excessive control. One spring morning, as flowers began to color the field, Lucas reflected on his entire journey. He remembered the fear when Luna disappeared, the pain of his broken arm, the surprise of the wild goats joining the herd. He realized that every event, even the painful or unexpected ones, had contributed to his growth. There was beauty in every twist of life, in every moment he refused to control. Elias, now older, looked at his son with silent pride. He knew that the greatest legacy he could leave wasn't wealth, but the wisdom of an open mind, a heart that accepts, a life that flows naturally. Lucas had learned to listen to life, to perceive its rhythms, and to find serenity even in the most challenging moments. The goats, Luna, and the others continued to live freely as constant reminders that life cannot be caged, controlled, or manipulated. They followed their instincts but returned to Elias and Lucas's care, showing that trust and acceptance create harmony, not just in the field, but in every aspect of existence. Over time, the entire village began to change. People worked with more lightness, handled losses and changes with less suffering, and realized that the flow of life is wiser than any human plan. They learned that opening the mind and letting things flow isn't passivity, but courage and wisdom. And so, year after year, Lucas and Elias lived, observing, learning, and teaching. With each challenge, each surprise, each change, they remembered that life is a continuous flow, not to be dominated, but experienced with an open mind and a receptive heart. In the silence of the green hills with the wind, passing through the trees, the goats grazing freely, and the sun setting slowly on the horizon, Lucas finally understood. Peace isn't in control, but in allowing life to follow its natural course, learning to trust, accept, and flow with the universe. Here is the translation of the provided text into English. We often wonder why life feels so heavy, as if we carry an invisible weight on our shoulders. We feel anxiety, fear, and even guilt for not being happy enough. But there is a path that can transform this reality, feeling good, finding peace, and experiencing love in every area of life. The key to this lies not only in human effort, but in allowing God's grace through Jesus Christ to flow within us, bringing divine prosperity to all aspects of life, including finances. The first area to address is the heart and mind. How often do we let ourselves be carried away by negative thoughts, fears, and worries? Jesus teaches us that true peace is born when we surrender our burdens to Him. Imagine walking through a sunlit field, feeling each step as an embrace from creation. By opening your mind and heart, allowing the divine presence to enter, you begin to experience profound well-being. Each breath becomes a prayer, and every moment becomes an opportunity to give thanks and receive God's abundance. The second aspect is love and relationships. Love is not just feeling affection for someone, but radiating compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. When Jesus says love one another, He teaches us to be channels of divine love. Imagine that every person you meet is a reflection of God's grace. Even those who seem difficult deserve your forgiveness and respect. By cultivating this mindset, you experience lightness in your heart, a sense of freedom that no external circumstance can steal. Love flows like a river, and the more you give, the more it returns to you, multiplied. The third area is material prosperity and abundance. Many believe spirituality and money cannot coexist, but the Bible shows otherwise. God desires us to prosper not only spiritually, but also materially. Divine prosperity is not about extravagance, but about having enough to live with dignity, help others, and fulfill your purpose. When you honor God with your work and financial decisions, when you give with gratitude and receive with humility, the flow of abundance manifests. Money becomes a tool to express God's grace, not a burden that weighs on the heart. The fourth area is physical and emotional health. Life is a gift, and caring for your body and mind is a way to honor divine creation. Eating well, resting, meditating, and praying are practices that strengthen your vital energy. But true healing goes beyond the physical. It happens when you allow Jesus to transform your inner self, healing wounds, releasing resentments, and filling your soul with light. Peace arises when you feel whole, balanced, and understand that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. The fifth area is purpose and personal fulfillment. Many spend years chasing external expectations, accumulating possessions, and forgetting what truly matters. Feeling good is about aligning with God's calling for your life. When you discover your purpose and work with dedication, guided by divine principles, every task becomes meaningful. Prosperity flows naturally because you're investing in something with eternal value, not just temporary gain. The joy of fulfilling your purpose surpasses any material wealth not aligned with your heart. The sixth area is gratitude and spiritual connection. Gratitude is the key that opens invisible doors in life. Upon waking, give thanks for the air, your body, your family, your work, your food, and divine protection. Spiritual connection happens when you recognize yourself as part of something greater, when you see that Jesus Christ guides your steps, and that every challenge, opportunity, and victory is part of a perfect plan. This awareness transforms how you view money, relationships, health, and inner peace. The seventh area is trust and surrender. Many struggle against the flow of life, trying to control every detail. But when you learn to trust God and surrender your fears, doubts, and decisions, life begins to flow in surprising ways. Picture yourself as a candle in the wind, open to the direction the Creator desires. Surrender is not passivity, but an active stance of trust, knowing each step is guided by a greater wisdom. The eighth area is joy and celebration of life. Being happy isn't about waiting for grand achievements. It's about finding beauty in small things, in someone's smile, the morning breeze, or the music that touches your heart. Jesus teaches us to celebrate each day as a gift. When you integrate joy into your life, Love expands, peace strengthens, and prosperity manifests naturally because you act from an internal state of abundance. The ninth area is resilience and overcoming challenges. Life will bring inevitable difficulties, but by keeping an open mind and a heart centered on Jesus Christ, you learn to transform them into opportunities for growth and learning. Pain, fear, and uncertainty become allies in strengthening your faith and capacity to love. Every challenge overcome is proof that divine prosperity is not just about money, but about the inner strength to move forward with hope. The 10th area is generosity and service to others. The more you share love, resources, and knowledge, the more life's flow returns to you. Money, when used to bless others, multiplies in ways human understanding cannot grasp. Jesus shows us that giving is receiving, blessing is being blessed, and true well-being comes from living connected to the divine source, letting the flow of love, peace, and prosperity pass through us. By applying these 10 areas to daily life, you begin to notice a profound transformation. Feeling good, finding peace, and experiencing love are not the result of external circumstances, but of harmony between mind, body, heart, and spirit. When we align our thoughts with God's will, trust in Jesus Christ, and use material resources with wisdom and gratitude, life becomes light, fluid, and prosperous in every sense. The secret is not in controlling the world, but in allowing God to guide you. Financial prosperity comes, yes, but as a consequence of an open mind, actions guided by faith, and a heart that loves without limits. Every prayer, every act of kindness, every conscious decision contributes to creating a flow of abundance that touches all areas of life. And so, day by day, you can learn to live fully, opening your mind, trusting in the divine plan, feeling Jesus' love in every gesture, and living with peace, joy, and prosperity. For when the mind opens and the heart surrenders, life is not merely endured, but celebrated, and every moment becomes a blessing, a lesson, and an abundance that transcends money, reaching the infinite depths of the spirit.